China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi is on the final stop of his European tour in France.
He's met his French counterpart, Jean-Noël Barrot, in Paris. This comes as both China and the EU look to stabilise ties amid growing global uncertainty and trade tensions. Jean-Pierre Raffarin is the former French Prime Minister.
This visit is very important. I think Mr. Wang Yi has a very good image in France. He has a lot of friends. The new Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jean-Noël Barrot, has a friendly relation with the Minister of Foreign Affairs from China. So it's a very good period. We have some discussion about difficult subjects, difficult topics, just like cognac, for example. But I think that solution is a good way. And overall, I think that we have also a big visit of the French president to China for the next October. So we have a lot of things to discuss with Mr. Wang Yi. He is very welcoming in France, and I think his visit will be positive.
Yeah, so as you say, still lots to discuss. Negotiations continue. How would you describe EU-China relations currently?
We have a lot of nervosity right now in the world. And I think the period is difficult. We have the question of electric vehicles, and we have a lot of difficulties like that. But we think that we lack to have a very long view, to have mid-term vision. We need to discuss for the future. I think that we have very common vision for the future. For example, for a new multilateralism. But which multilateralism? So we have to discuss of the future, not always discussion for the subject of today. Today we have some competition and interest. That's no more. So if we have not a common vision for the future, it's difficult to have agreement in the actuality. So I think that we need to have a strategic discussion with China what kind of governance we want for the world in the next future.
Absolutely, and you mentioned that there are sticking points. You mentioned cognac, you mentioned China's concern about the tariffs on their electric vehicles. Discussions are ongoing. How do we get to a point of a mutually beneficial partnership between the two?
I think that common vision is the main point. But the second point is very important, to have a special relationship between China and France. We are a very cultural country. We have a lot of common vision. And of course, we have a very high level of diversity. But I think that we have to maintain a very close relationship between France and China, and could be very useful to have better relations with Europe.
Well, Wang Yi's visit to France follows stopovers in Berlin and Brussels. Our correspondent Li Jianhua spoke to the chairman of the Belgian-Chinese Chamber of Commerce to gauge how Belgian businesses are viewing this Chinese foreign minister's visit.
The message Minister Wang Yi is bringing is a message of peace, is a message of let's work together. There are things we can do together. There is space for more business between Belgium and China. So I think this is something very positive.
So during his meeting with Belgian Prime Minister, he said he hopes to see more investments from Belgium in China. So how do Belgian companies see the Chinese market now?
Well, Chinese market is not an easy market. Just because China is not close to Belgium, the language is different, the culture is different. But this being said, China offers nice possibilities. In various fields. I mean high tech, I mean green energy, I mean education, I mean culture, which is also a kind of business. So there are possibilities.
Not an easy market, as you said. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas met Wang Yi, and she raised the concern of market access. What's your take on that?
Well, that is one of the preoccupations of European business people. Sometimes they have the feeling not to be treated equally in accessing Chinese market compared to Chinese companies already active in China, of course. But this being said, we should not also put this as a barrier for not going to China. There are possibilities in China. There are fields that are open, and more fields are open now. When you see that the Chinese government had diminished the negative list for foreign investors in China, this is a positive sign. We also should look at Chinese companies coming to Europe, and I think there are more and more Chinese companies also looking at Europe, so we should also seize these possibilities for developing a business that would be profitable for European and Chinese companies.
And European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen reiterates that the EU's stance on China is still de-risking, not decoupling. But do you think de-risking at the end of the day ultimately will lead to decoupling?
We have to be very careful by using the words. And for some people, when they speak about de-risking, they have in mind, decoupling and eventually at one day trying to stop trade relationship. We should remain in dialogue between EU and China. We should remain with a respectful attitude towards each other.
Well, let's talk to our correspondent, Sarah Coates, who's been watching the day's events in Paris. Sarah, what do you make of it all? What's the reaction there?
Hello, Jamie. It really does appear to have been a very successful one-week trip to Europe by Wang Yi. He's just met with France's foreign minister, his counterpart in the ministry here just behind me. We do now have a statement from China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It says that both foreign ministers reaffirmed the solid foundation of bilateral relations and emphasised the importance of people-to-people exchanges in strengthening long-term ties. Now, they did speak about a number of areas of cooperation. These are things like education, language, culture and science. And it is very important to point out that in the realm of science, there has been a fairly big breakthrough, really, between China and France in just the last few months, with China handing over a very rare, a very important lunar sample that was brought back down to Earth in 2020 from that very successful space mission. So certainly a lot of cooperation here. And what we have been seeing is Wang Yi really trying to pave the way ahead of this very important summit between European and Chinese leaders to happen a little later in Beijing this month. So certainly a lot to talk about here. But one